Penny Goldberg, and welcome to Know Your Neighbors. Today, the star of the show is not a person, but a house. The Delancy house, built in 1792 here in Mamaroneck, and we are going to give you a tour. We're going to talk to the people trying to save it, and let's start the show. Okay, we're inside now, and I'm going to turn this tour over to the experts, Carol and Donald, who are going to walk you through what is left of the original 1792 Delancy house. Without further delay, I am turning over to Carol, who's going to tell you about this unbelievable pillar I'm standing next to, the original pillar from this house.
So this is a very, very special pillar because it is one of the central pillars of the original house from 221 years ago. And if you notice the texture on it, it's all chopped because this was a hand-hewn pillar that was created. They didn't have lumber yards then. It was probably a few years before the first lumber yard appeared in Rye, where people could go and actually get their lumber cut. So this was a very special remaining part of the Delancy house, one of the original pillars that holds it up.
This building is what's left of the original barn, and it's also in its own right 100 years old, as we see it freestanding right now. As you take the camera inside, you'll see a wonderful old-fashioned hitching post for one of the days when I'm sure they did an awful lot of blacksmithing here. Because our archaeological digs have uncovered tons upon tons upon tons of horseshoes on this very site. So this definitely was a site of a smithing shop and a barn, and definitely a carriage stop along the road that was known as the Post Road.
And there are some original bricks from the original barn up the hill where the Delancy house began, where it was first built. And when it was brought down, some of those came along. So this is quite historic in its own right.
Okay, this is the site of where the original house ends and where the addition was added on later on. But where you see that oval-shaped window, that's the site of where the original Palladian window was, which was true to the period. Quite unfortunately, it was abridged, its historical value was abridged and sold off into the world of restoration hardware many, many moons ago. But that would be one of the pieces that would have to be restored if we were lucky enough to get this piece of property.
Okay, so these are some original hand-hewn nails that are still in the house, and you can see here and there where they have been or where they are, and the tops are distinctive because they have been handmade. That was pointed out by Bill Frazier some time ago, who is the former president of the Historical Society. So we are now in the office of the Sound Restaurant Supply Company. The original wall, though, we've found that is part of their office. And on the wall are the two original doors that were entrances into the rest of the house. The moldings are the same, the moldings are original, and the doors are original. Moldings, which you can't really see too well, along the wall are also original. So this is clearly still a very great evidence of the unique 221-year-old parts of the house. So I don't know if this is the original frame. It's not the original door, but at least it is. This is the entrance to the upstairs, and it was a little more accessible and not as walled off when Cooper and Susan Delancy were here, and the Delancy family lived here. But now it is made into two apartments, and on the third floor there are two separate rooms. So we're going to see that hallway.
It's no accident that this is here either. This is probably the original door.
So we are in the hallway of the stairway up to the apartments, and this wall we have here, it has, of course, new wallboard on it, but it is underneath that is the original wall, and we just saw the other side of it with the original doors that are from the office. And this is the original moldings around here, you can see, but the stairs are presumably the original stairs. The railings are not. They have been rebuilt, but there are still definitely clear remnants of parts of this 221-year-old house.
Come, let's go upstairs.
Yeah. So there's one thing that we had pointed out by the fellow from the State Historic Preservation that was left in this railing, and that is over here, there is one railing portion left that is of the 221-year-old portion, and the rest is newer. Newer meaning about 100 years old. Okay, so I want to introduce you to Eddie Chimalecki, who is one of the owners of the building. He's going to give us a little upstairs tour. If you can pan to this section here, these stairs are part of the original stairs, and these doors, of course, have been built and added on, but they went to the second floor upstairs. There's a large apartment in the front and a smaller apartment in the back that was added on, part of the section that was added on. But that was the entrance, the stairs to the original upstairs of the Cooper home. And now we are going to go upstairs to the third floor and see what's up there. And many parts of these stairs and the moldings are all original, according to the State Historic Preservation fellow that came down. So here we are on the third floor, which I am assuming in the original house was probably storage. I don't think there were apartments as there are here, or rooms as there were, certainly finished the way they are now. But certainly once it came down to the post road around the turn of the century, then it was made into an inn and rooms were added. This is what I think was the master bedroom for the Delancy family, for the Delanceys. And now, as you see, it's still a bedroom.
There's a great view from here.
This is a beautiful view, you can see that. This is another bedroom, and I'm sure the partitions have been added and larger rooms have been made smaller to make more rooms in the last 200 years. But this is another bedroom, and then maybe you, as you can see if you come in a little closer, the kitchen is beyond that up here, and I'm sure there was not a kitchen on the second floor. I'm sure it was down below, and maybe even in the basement, where sometimes the hearth was in other old homes.
Hi, I'm Eddie Chimalecki, and my family owns this building. Thank you for coming. As Carol had mentioned, this building has been a part of Mamaroneck for over 220 years, the Delancy house. It was moved to its present location probably about 120 years ago. My family has owned it since the late 1940s. My dad bought this building, and so we have run our business here since then. And now it's time to move on, and we have interest in selling the building. And we've also developed a relationship and a mutual respect with the Historical Society, because the building certainly has historical value. So what we're trying to do is find the right fit where the building could be preserved, and we could so to speak, cash in and sell the property, and so that all of us can be satisfied. And we've been working together for that purpose, and certainly hope that we succeed, because it is a beautiful old building, part of Mamaroneck for a very long time. Thank you for coming.
As I told you outside in the intro, the star of this program, Know Your Neighbors, is really the house, the Delancy Cooperhouse. We are sitting here now, and what is a real restaurant, and La Piccolo Casa, and they've been kind enough to let us talk. And I'm sitting with people who are trying to save the house, starting with, next to me is Miss Gloria Posha-Pritz, who everybody must know because she is the village historian and has told me stories since I've lived here for the last 38 years. Next to Gloria is Carol Aiken, who was the chair of the gala to try to save the Delancy Cooperhouse, as well as the committee, the chairman of it. And sitting next to her is a face you probably would know, Don March, who we talked about before, has been the president of the Historical Society for quite a long time, was gotten a little brief rest and has come back as the president again. So thank you guys for sitting here and talking with me, because the stories and the house, this is what it's all about. Why are we trying to save this house?
Because it is a very important historical place here in Mamaroneck. I mean, 1792, this is 2013. I mean, it's been here for so long. And it hasn't changed that much. It originally was up on the hill, but then in 1901, it was moved down to the post road.
Not our good luck, our bad luck, because that would have been on the historical registry had it have stayed, right?
Yes, that's why it's not on the historical national register.
Right.
I wonder if it could be on the state register. We should check on that.
We're working on it. Ask Miss Carol, who's the chairman of our Save the House Committee, Friends of the Delancy Cooper.
Right. Well, we actually had the State Historic Preservation Committee up there in Albany come down and tour the house. And this gentleman pointed out a number of different things that are very much still the original parts. And it was really fun to take that tour. Of course,
our audience got to take the tour. So
that's right. It's going to be fun. So, you know, the value of the house as a house is important to Mamaroneck because it is one of the oldest houses. And because John Peter Delancy, who built the house, was a very prominent, active, wealthy person in Mamaroneck.
Right. Gloria told us a great story. The man commuted by what?
Oh, he commuted to New York, New York City, of course, because a wealthy man. He had a business down there, and he did have slaves at the time.
And they rode him here.
And the slaves took him from our harbor down
To Manhattan.
Down the East River. You know, if you've taken that wonderful trip, you know where he went to his office to work, and saw to it that he came back in the evening to his family.
An early commuter.
That's some hard-working people. Well, but hopefully he wasn't a huge man. But okay.
But the central point that we're trying to get across is that this is not only a local historical home of importance, but this is the home where James Fenimore Cooper was married to Susan Delancy, and in his father-in-law's house.
And he got some ideas, I bet.
And I'm sure he did. That was the idea. As a matter of fact, his first novel was The Spy, and it was written largely about Mamaroneck, that had a great deal. This is a picture of the wedding that is actually hanging in the Mamaroneck Library.
Yeah, it's one of the beautiful murals.
Yes, beautiful mural.
WPA
right.
mural.
WPA.
And it's a WPA mural written in the 30s. And
wow, that's so neat.
so yes, Cooper lived here a couple of different times and definitely had a sense of the atmosphere of Mamaroneck, and he was good friends with different people in it. He attended church in it.
He also was very friendly with a neighbor who lived down the post road, John Jay.
John Jay, right, exactly.
And John Jay was the one who gave him the idea to write The Spy, because he told him about different things that happened around this lower Westchester community during the American Revolution.
That's right.
He also gave him some of the names for the book, you know, Enoch Crosby, things of that nature.
Yeah.
That has a real life footprint for the Revolutionary War period in Mamaroneck. And you know, John Jay was very instrumental in telling that story of a territory that was between two lines, between two enemy lines. You were between the colonial lines and the British that occupied New York City.
Right.
And you never can forget the fact that George Washington made his retreat through Westchester, up the Bronx River Valley in 1776, and on this very spot and on this very hill is where the skirmish of Heathcote Hill was fought.
And I understand that there were spies that told
on both sides.
On both sides, and that's why this whole thing's so amazing,
But
huh?
the fact that you're sitting on a site of where a skirmish was actually fought in the Revolutionary War makes it a significant footprint for American history, because had Washington not delayed the retreat long enough, it might have had been a pivotal point that could have turned the war the opposite direction.
That's right. We would have all been speaking very nice British, with British accents today, right?
Even though the colonists had given up tea, and after the Boston Tea Party, they were drinking coffee at the time, and Benjamin Franklin had his first experience with coffee, and he didn't understand what it was when he pulled into a pit stop, or what we would call a roadhouse.
Sure, it wasn't Starbucks.
No, it wasn't Starbucks. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. But we probably would be drinking tea.
Wow.
We probably would be.
Wow. So, I mean, you just as we're talking, I'm thinking to myself, all those kids in Mamaroneck High School should be just blown away that they are part of history. I mean, this is living, you know. I know Gloria does wonderful classes at the little schoolhouse, but I mean, this is really the Revolutionary War. I mean, where we came from, you studied that, and I mean, nothing was real. You couldn't walk the walk.
That's right.
The stories that have been told of the weapons and things that were retrieved after the battle, you know, some of them were hanging in this very building at one point. No one knows exactly where they disappeared to, but some of the recovered weaponry was hanging here for many, many years. And you know, the significance is not only the Revolutionary War period as it happened, but the fact that the burial of the soldiers that fought in the skirmish of Heathcote Hill are literally just 2 blocks away, just 2 blocks up the hill, where their remains were found when they decided to put in the sewer lines. So the entire area, from the high school to Mamaroneck Avenue, from the Post Road all the way over to the other side of the train trestle on Palmer, where a cannonball was once found, is a significant archaeologically sensitive area that you never know what you're going to uncover when you dig down through the soil. And the village manager has been very, very, very receptive when I tell him that when building permits or road permits, or anything is opened in that square mileage of area, that it be looked at very sensitively, and then whatever is retrieved really belongs to the people of the village of Mamaroneck, and that it needs to come back home and not taken away as a treasure trove of things.
You're absolutely right. We're very lucky to have Rich Slingle, and he's a wonderful, sensitive guy.
Yes, he is.
And you got another picture that I
have
can
another
see.
picture. This is James Fenimore Cooper.
Okay, so we get to see what he looked like.
This is what he looked like, and this was, you know, right after his marriage and naval outfit.
Naval outfit.
That's one of the reasons why there was a good deal in the Spy about the Navy and all. And to realize that he was the first really, truly well-known American novelist.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
true.
He had been actually. It was Susan Delancy, is an interesting fact, who convinced him to start to write. His wife, they imported books from Britain. And
I was going to say, how could there be an American novelist? We were the colonies.
Right. Now, this was everything that Donald's been saying. You know, he'd been getting this whole picture of all of this history, that it was just like 20 years ago. If you think about it, to us, you know, 20, 30 years ago, it doesn't seem like long ago history, but it was all happening. He was very well aware of that. But he hadn't any desire to write at that point. He would take these books and read them to the family. And one day he read a book that he just hated, and he threw it across the room, and he said, I could write a better book than that. And his wife said, well, why don't you?
See,
Ta-da!
behind every man, there's a good woman. Is that not true? Okay.
And go, Sonny. So, yes, so that began his career. And, of course, as we know, his father founded Cooperstown, and he and Susan did move to Cooperstown after the wedding, and they lived there a good deal of their marriage, but they did come back to live a couple of times in Mamaroneck. His time in Cooperstown gave him the impetus also to have become what later has been called the first environmentalist, because it was such a wonderful wooded area up there, and such a beautiful, untouched, pristine territory. And he wrote, of course, as we know, Last of the Mohicans, and his other Leatherstocking Tales, as well as really being a prolific writer in other ways. He wrote about Europe.
So Leatherstocking Tales got to be our Leatherstocking.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
That's right.
Yes, it
Leatherstocking with the Leatherstocking Trail. There's so many things about Cooper and all that are, we have Fenimore Road right here at the corner. We have the Delancy house. We have Cooper Lane in Larchmont, Leatherstocking Trail.
Wow.
So, tremendous influence
Amazing,
he was.
huh?
So that's another good reason to save this house.
And saving the house, having done the tour, there are original pillar, there's original things all over that we were talking about. So, and they've lasted.
They've lasted.
You
This
think
house is
about
a well-built house.
that in itself is pretty amazing, right?
The hardwood forests that were here when buildings of this nature were developed and built, that wood is irreplaceable because it's the original American forest, the #1 forest that was here. That wood is far superior to anything we use that disintegrates over 20, 25 years, has to be replaced. These timbers were made out of that American forest chestnut and hickory and the hardest of woods that you can imagine. That's what's holding this place up. And if you think about it, it is the oldest footprint in Mamaroneck. 1792 goes all the way back to the very inauguration of President George Washington himself.
Wow. That's pretty neat, huh?
And of course, we even have the rock there on Orienta Avenue,
Right.
that when they were blasting for the sewer, we got the profile of George Washington. It was just a natural.
That's true. A natural one, right?
So we started our main effort to save the house last spring. We had a couple of tag sales to get us going, and then we held a breakfast right here at La Piccolo Casa, which was very successful. And we had a number of different local dignitaries come and join us, and several spoke. And
Rev the people up.
Rev the people up, right? Began to get the word out. And then we had this committee formed that kept on working. And pretty soon we decided we'd hold a gala. And then we had some honorary members of our gala. Sonny was one of them. And in the middle of the summer, she and Susie Oppenheimer and a number of others decided they wanted to become active. They didn't want to just be honorary members, and so they
Emily Grant,
Emily Grant, Valerie
God bless her.
O'Keefe has been on from the get-go. She's been terrific. She's been nitty-gritty, doing nitty-gritty work for us too. With all we planned a gala, which was held on October 3rd.
Thank goodness it's over.
And thank goodness it's over,
We got
yes.
Carol back. The poor woman
Yes.
did nothing but gala.
Yep,
but it was lovely and wonderful. You had a
Set
great
my life aside.
committee.
We had a wonderful committee and
Good turnout.
Terrific turnout. Yes, a lot of the mayor, both mayors, and the town supervisor, and
That was just the
yes.
beginning.
And this was really yes. Our take was wonderful, but we obviously weren't looking for the take to solve our problem. What we need is the word to spread and to
People
get
that
out more.
come in, look at this place over, and
and
say, "Oh my God!"
appreciate
exactly
what they're standing in. Actually, this very room is where the wedding took place, which is lots of fun.
Okay, 2 seconds, Donald. We got to wrap up. What do you want to say to everybody out there?
It's the Historical Society's pleasure to serve as the conduit for any donations the community might wish to make to the committee to save this property. Preservation is one of the chief and primary goals of the Historical Society, as well as telling the tales of the Mamaroneck's history. Without the barn building spirit that the colonists experienced, no building could be built without collective support. Without your collective support, nothing can happen in terms of saving this building. I urge you all to please become part of saving history and giving Mamaroneck a house of history where it may be reposited
properly for the future
So
generations.
let's let the village historian give us the last statement. What do you think, Miss Gloria?
Well, I just think that this is a must. We must save it. We want to, without question. Hopefully, we can get enough to purchase the entire house and the land to keep it where it is now. If not, we will have to do something else, and together with the village board, they will help us.
Your bottom line saying this has got to stay.
This is a must.
Okay, this is a
This
must.
is a must.
Carol, I know your feelings, your heart. You've been just wonderful. Anything last second?
Well, just that any contributions, go to mamaroneckhistory.homestead.com, and you'll click on the Delancy link, and you can find how to make out a check if you wish to, and where to send it. You can pay by PayPal. You can pay by
And we'll be rolling all of this at the end of
by
this
credit
program,
card.
so don't worry.
Right.
It's an honor to sit with you all.
Thank you, Sunny, so much.
Mostly, it's an honor to sit in this unbelievably historical abode. So thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you, Piccolo Casa, for letting us be here, and LMC-TV for caring enough to come out on Veterans Day to film this segment. Again, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Know Your Neighbors. Bye-bye.